What a difference a week can make. The Seattle Mariners go 5-1 this week at home against divisional rivals. First three games against the Astros, and then they sweep the Rangers to finish out the week. They are now 8-8 on the year, going from 3-7 to 8-8 in a week is a huge bump up. It's very early in the season. There's still a ton of season left, so don't get too high or too low this early in the season, that's for sure. So we're going to get into a lot on this episode. They now have their first real test upcoming on the road. It's going to be 3 games at the Cincinnati Reds, followed by 3 games at the Toronto Blue Jays, then 3 games at Boston before they make their way back home to Seattle. We're going to get into the Victor Robles injury, the Ryan Bliss injury that was completely unexpected. Ben Williamson just got the call yesterday, which is very exciting for many reasons. And then Cal Raleigh is rocking the torpedo bat. He hit a home run in 3 consecutive days using that torpedo bat. So we'll get into some of that news and more. But first, make sure to check out blacklabelsupplements.com. They are my go-to for all things supplementation, whether it's pre-workout, post-workout, creatine, you name it. Black Label Supplements is a third-party tested, athlete-approved supplement company based here in the Pacific Northwest. Again, they're my go-to. Use code CouchGM for 15% off your supplements. And to get geared up for the baseball season, make sure to check out Baseballism. They're the off-field brand for all things baseball. I am always rocking a Baseballism shirt. They got a ton of cool Mariners gear. You can use code CouchGM15 for 15% off your order at Baseballism. And if you didn't already know, I am a full-time mortgage broker when I'm not making these sports videos, and it's my goal to assist any sports fans and athletes to get into the home of their dreams. So make sure to reach out. I'll have a link in the description of this video to reach out and connect if you'd like to get your pre-approval started or refinance. So now getting into the news, like I mentioned, 3 games against the Astros at home. They took 2 out of 3, and then they swept the Rangers. But at this time last week, things were quite a bit different. They were 3-7. They just got swept by the San Francisco Giants at San Francisco. Victor Robles flies into the netting in right field late on in that game on Sunday. He ended up dislocating his shoulder officially. It's a dislocated shoulder with a small fracture in the humeral head. And while right now they say that it won't currently require surgery, that very well could change. We'll have to see. And if there is no surgery required, the timetable for recovery is 6 weeks to fully heal, and then a 6-week rehab schedule, which if you put 6 weeks together, that's 12 weeks total, or 3 months likely is the minimum. If you're at 3 months, right now it's mid-April. That puts us at mid-July is the best timetable that Victor Robles could come back. So he very well could come back at some point this year. If he does require surgery, then that would likely be a season ender. But it could have been much worse, even with his timetable. You look at just the extent of that injury, you knew that it wasn't going to be anything quick. You knew that it was going to be something extended. And, even though it is going to require most of the season on the shelf, it could have been even worse, to where he's breaking multiple bones or tearing more than he did, to where he's out, the rest of the season plus. And as he was quoted saying, he has no regrets. And like Cal Raleigh said on his last Cal Raleigh show on Seattle Sports 710, it's like he doesn't, blame Victor Robles for going hard. You're never going to tell anyone to hold back or to limit themselves. Everyone's competing out there. Everyone's trying to do their best to help the team as much as they can to win the game. And that's just Victor Robles. He's a ball of energy. And, if he would have made that catch and been completely healthy, he was already going to be on, Sports Center top 10. But, that's a leadoff guy for the Mariners that they're going to miss sorely. That's the 30-plus stolen bases. He was actually second on the team in 2024 in doubles behind, you guessed it, Dylan Moore. So we'll see if the Mariners can get that production elsewhere. But he still will be in the clubhouse. He's already been spotted on the camera. He'll be able to provide the energy even when he's not on the field. So we'll have to monitor that, and hopefully things progress as they're hoping. Ryan Bliss, completely unexpected on Tuesday, tore his left bicep on a swing in the bottom of the second inning. Ryan Bliss was looking like a standout second baseman. He was making all the plays at second base. All of the routine plays he was making the plays that don't look routine whatsoever, to where he's going left or right and having to lay out and flip around and toss it over to first base. Even in I believe the game on Monday, to where he's tracking the ball behind second base. It hits off second base, and he's already fully extended horizontal, and he's able to snag the ball to keep it from going into the outfield and allowing another run to score. Ryan Bliss, he was a menace on the base path in the short time that he was on the team to start this year. And so he underwent surgery on Friday to fully repair that torn left bicep. Full recovery for him will take 4 to 5 months, which with that timetable, it's likely a season ender. Potentially back for when the Mariners make the playoffs, and as I said, win. But we'll have to see if he's able to get back. He had his bat still does need to adapt a bit to big league pitching, but he had a 214 batting average, a 287 on base percentage over his 44 games that he's played the past 2 seasons in the major leagues. Ben Williamson, in a corresponding move, was called up. You have Victor Robles get injured in the outfield. Now you have Dylan Moore, Miles Mastroboni, who are both utility guys. You have Luke Raley that has been playing some first base. He's now immediately the starting outfielder out there. But then you add the Ryan Bliss injury to it, and it goes from Ryan Bliss being your everyday second baseman, Miles Mastroboni. Add on top of this that Jorge Polanco had that surgically repaired knee this offseason. They start him at third base. It turns out that Jorge Polanco has some additional side issues that he's dealing with. He's only currently comfortable batting from the left side, so only against right-handed pitching. So Jorge Polanco has pretty quickly turned into your everyday DH when there's a righty on the mound, which means that, Dylan Moore is having to become essentially your everyday second baseman. Mastroboni is going to start having to play some outfield, move around the infield, and which means that Ben Williamson is getting the call. Ben Williamson is a 24-year-old. He currently is the Mariners' number 13 overall prospect per MLB Pipeline. He, throughout the minor leagues, he has a 281 batting average, a 755 OPS, 4 home runs, 22 stolen bases, and 39 doubles this past year so far in the minor leagues. He was originally drafted in the second round, number 57 overall in the 2023 MLB draft out of the College of William and Mary. The easiest comp on this guy, just talking about the fielding, is Nolan Arenado. I honestly don't know another fielder that I could comp him to that really explains how elite he looks in the field. You watch his highlights, he looks like Nolan Arenado. He's completely extending beyond that third baseline and able to rocket the ball across to first base to get the out. His profile is not the same whatsoever, as Nolan Arenado on the offensive side. As of right now, he certainly is a hit over power guy. And some scouts say that over time he might move to another position because their base is typically held for guys that have the power ability rather than just the contact ability. But he's a guy, and he has also played some time at shortstop this past season. So if something were to happen with JP, or if they need to start moving some guys around additionally, he could be an infield utility guy that could move between third base and shortstop. But as I mentioned, 281 batting average across his time throughout the minor leagues. And so far this year in Tacoma, he has played 14 games. He's had 12 hits. He's had a hit in 12 of those 14 games at Tacoma so far. 281 batting average, a 317 on base percentage. There is going to be growing pains for Ben Williamson at the plate in majors. You look at the entire lineup, you look at the batting averages across the board. These are, veteran guys that are all throughout the lineup, and their batting averages are around the 200 mark or sub 200. Ben Williamson is going to have to take some time to get that bat ready to go, but we'll see if his value at being at third base and the defense that he can provide will bring enough of value to offset some of the growth at the plate. And we'll see if he makes his debut tomorrow, which will be in Cincinnati against Nick Lodolo, who is a lefty on the mound. Likely that will be when he makes his debut. So be sure to be on the lookout for Ben Williamson. I'm also going to put together a player profile on Ben later this week to profile exactly who he is, where he came from, and why you need to be paying attention to this guy, because in the field, not even talking about his bat, just in the field, it's going to be electric. Another big news just happened today is that Troy Taylor, relief pitcher, was just reinstated from the 15-day injured list. He started the season on the injured list with a right lat sprain. Strain. He had 5 rehab appearances, and he is now back. He had a great breakout season last year. He debuted on August 11th, 2024. He had 21 appearances, a 3.72 ERA, 25 strikeouts, 7 walks, and 19 and a third innings pitch. This guy also has electric stuff. He's got a sinker at 98 to 100. And what's interesting is, they really take their time with guys getting back from injury. I was at spring training, almost a month ago, and I was watching Troy Taylor bullpens even back then, and he was pumping it in there. So they're really taking their time with Troy Taylor. They're certainly taking their time with Matt Brash, who yesterday threw an inning at Tacoma, which is very promising. But Troy Taylor now getting added back into the bullpen is going to add another layer of depth to this bullpen that already has been great. And when Matt Brash comes back, now that Troy Taylor is back, this is going to be one of the best bullpens in baseball. I've said it in years past, one of, if not the best starting rotations in baseball. This is going to be one of, if not the best bullpens in baseball. Top to bottom, they have guys that have elite stuff, 95 plus with four seamers, sinkers, their sliders, all different types of pitches. Now you have Gabe Spire from the left side. You've got Gregory Santos. You got Troy Taylor. You got Andres Munoz to go with Trent Thornton, who's had a solid year so far. Carlos Vargas has been a great breakout guy. He's gotten multiple innings for the Mariners in the bullpen when you needed him to. I think Vargas is a very intriguing arm. You got Casey Legumina, who is now added to the roster. Matt Brash, again, is going to be coming back soon. The assumption is that Matt Brash will be back at some point by early May. It could be, at this point, it very well could be the end of April, since he's already logged an inning at Tacoma. Troy Taylor just needed 5 rehab appearances. If Matt Brash is recovering properly from these outings at Tacoma, he could be back next week or the week after. We'll have to just see with that. George Kirby, it sounds like, is rehabbing properly, and that he is going off of a typical spring training schedule, to where, basically he started his spring training ramp up a week or two ago. So the assumption is that we should see George Kirby at some point in May. We'll have to see exactly when that will be. I'm going to get into in just a second the reslot of the rotation that the Mariners are currently going through as well, but not quite on the injury report, but it's something to be aware of, is that Bryce Miller apparently is dealing with some soreness after his outings, and his velocity has apparently been down a little bit compared to prior years. Right now, his four-seam fastball is averaging 94.3 miles per hour. His sinker is averaging 93.9 miles per hour, which is compared to his 95.2 on the four-seam fastball from last year and 94.7 on the sinker from last year. And again, he's dealing with some soreness in his arm. So we'll have to see how long it takes for him to bounce back, and if he's able to get that velo back up and going. It is early in the year. It has been a little chilly, but if you live in the Pacific Northwest, you see that the sun is out. Things are looking pretty good on the forecast in the near future. We're looking at 63 plus and sunny for this next week or so. There's going to be, some rain spots, but of course, Mariners are traveling to Cincinnati and then to Toronto and Boston when the sun first comes out in Seattle. So we'll see how the weather comes, when they're back in Seattle. But like with some other guys for some other teams, like Garrett Crochet, who's on my fantasy team, as well as, Tanner Houck, the Red Sox, these guys that are playing in the East Coast, they've been pitching in 40-degree weather, 45-degree weather to start the year. You can't overreact to what is going on, or, how pitchers are looking with velo and all that stuff early in the year. As we get into the summer and, things start to warm up, they stretch out, they feel more comfortable, they'll get their velo back. So something to watch for on Bryce Miller, but nothing to panic about quite yet. Now, getting into the Mariners, stats so far this year, I'm going to be updating every week where they rank among the rest of the league in hitting and pitching. Currently, the Mariners hitting staff ranks 25th in batting average at a 210. This is a decrease from 213 this last week. They're 16th in on-base percentage with a 308 on base. They're currently 18th in OPS, on base plus slugging, with a 667. They're 13th in weighted runs created plus. So even though they're 18th in OPS, they're via Fangraphs weighted runs created plus, they're 13th, which is a 103. So on average, the Mariners offense has been 3% above league average, which is above league average. They're currently 23rd in wins above replacement per Baseball Reference. They are 19th in strikeout rate at 23.4. So last season we saw Mariners being on a historic pace for strikeouts. They haven't struck out quite as much. They're 19th in strikeout rate, again 23.4%. They are currently 4th in walk rate at a 10.8 walk rate. JP Crawford actually leads the American League in walks right now, and Randy Rosarena is just one walk behind JP for the lead in the American League. So there have been some guys that have had some patience at the plate, which is good. You want to see more base runners than less. And to tie it together with the walks, they have actually gotten 23 stolen bases as a team, which is third in the league in stolen bases total. We've assumed that the Mariners would be doing more, playing more small ball with more bunts, more stolen bases. We've at least seen the stolen bases part, and we'll see how that continues. They're 20th in RBIs with 56. They're 18th in runs scored at the moment with 61. Last year, they were certainly in the bottom third of the league in runs scored, one of the worst teams in runs scored. And right now, they are 27th in batting average and balls in play with 247 batting average on balls in play. And last week, I had Gary Hill Jr. on. He likely will be popping on again next week. But we talked about how the Mariners are one of the unluckiest teams in baseball so far this year in overall, projected stats compared to realized stats. And if you watch the games, you've seen how all of their hard hit balls were going directly to guys, or a lot of them were. How the opposing team was hitting little blue dinkers into the outfield, and that other teams were lucky. Mariners were unlucky. They're currently 27th in batting average and balls in play. That won't continue. You would assume that they would increase. So more of the balls that they put in play will end up being hits in the long run. But with runners in scoring position, here are their current rankings. They're 30th still in batting average, which is a 148 batting average with runners in scoring position. That actually is an increase from the week prior, during which they had a 132. They're currently 24th in on-base percentage with runners in scoring position, 30th in OPS with a 506, 30th in RBIs with runners in scoring position. They are the worst at driving in runners when there are runners on second base or further. They have just 30 RBIs with those position. And then they are 22nd in strikeouts with 37. And that's again with runners in scoring position. So that's obviously a crucial spot where they're going to have to stop, striking out as much. And again, with that batting average and balls in play, as they continue to put the ball in play, they're going to get more lucky. They're going to drive in more runs. That's going to happen. And looking at the last 6 games specifically, this last week, during which they went 5-1 to get them back to 8-8, back to 500. Their last 6 games, they're still 22nd in batting average with a 204. They are 18th in on-base percentage with a 288. They are 13th in weighted runs created plus with a 98. They are 21st in strikeout rate with a 24.5% strikeout rate, 17th in walk rate, 8.8% walk rate over these last 6 games. Now their pitching has been, hit and miss. They've been without George Kirby so far this season. For the most part, their rotation has been solid, but Luis F. Castillo and some bullpen games having to get filled in here. They've had to kind of make their way until George Kirby is back at some point in May. Again, I'm going to get into the realignment in the rotation coming up soon, which should play to the Mariners' benefit here over this next stretch. But the Mariners pitching as a whole, they're 9th in ERA with a 3.54 ERA. This is a increase since last week with a 4.58. They're currently 16th in WHIP with a 1.28, 20th in batting average allowed with a 238, 13th in home runs allowed with 15, and 13th in walks allowed with 54. The starting rotation is 12th in innings pitched with 82.1. They're 16th in ERA with 3.94. And that amount of innings pitched that they're in that spot, as well as the bullpen having pitched so many innings, The bullpen is actually second in all of baseball in total innings pitched with 65. And of course, that's because of Luis F. Castillo's start. And then, that first time in San Francisco. The bullpen is 16th in ERA with a 3.86, 25th in WHIP, 25th in batting average with a 281 batting average allowed. Their WHIP was a 1.56, 21st in home runs with 5, 17th in walks, 16th in strikeouts. Now, with that being the case, Brian Wu looks absolutely phenomenal. He's got that flow going this year. He's letting his hair grow out, and he's looking to take that next step. Brian Wu last year was one of the best pitchers in the rotation. I mean, you could go down the list. All these guys could be aces in certain rotations, and Brian Wu looks to take that next step. And his last outing, especially against the Rangers, was phenomenal. 7 innings pitched. And as I mentioned, J.P. Crawford leads the American League in walks. Randy is tied for second in walks with 12. And as we head into this next stretch, the Mariners are actually going to be reslotting their rotation. So with an off day today, they're going to utilize that to be able to get rid of the Luis F. Castillo start, get rid of the Emerson Hancock start that would be in place starting tomorrow. And so Logan Gilbert pitched yesterday on Sunday. Today is their off day. Luis Castillo, the Rock Luis Castillo, not the Pebble Luis Castillo, is going to be pitching on Tuesday at Cincinnati against the Reds, followed by Bryce Miller on Wednesday on regular rest. Brian Wu will be on Thursday, and then Gilbert will make the start on Friday, which will be at Toronto on Friday, and that will be on normal rest for him. So we'll be able to skip the bullpen day or the Luis F. Castillo day for this rotation. We'll see if they're able to keep it moving forward. And then again, we'll have to see when George Kirby is able to make his return to the rotation. And so now looking ahead, I guess stepping back just a second to the torpedo bat. The torpedo bat has officially made its way to the Seattle Mariners and their clubhouse. It sounds like about a dozen or so bats were dropped off in Seattle this past week. It was hit or miss with various teammates. Cal Raleigh was one of those guys that decided that, or at least from his production, has decided that he's going to be continuing with it. He was quoted saying that it's a little funky, but we'll see. Need a little more time. But then the same day that he was quoted saying that, he hit his franchise leading for a catcher home run. He is now up to 5 on the year and 98 career after hitting a home run with that torpedo bat on Friday, on Saturday, and then on Sunday. Some other guys with a torpedo bat. Julio Rodriguez said it's not for me. So Julio is not going to be one of the guys rocking the torpedo bat. Randy Rosarena said that he likes it. Luke Raley said that he will see. So, as the torpedo bat rolls out, of course, it works for some guys, not as much as for others, and just depends on their swing and how it feels in their hands. So we'll have to see if Cal can keep up the home run streak. He is homered in 3 consecutive games. I believe it said 2 other times in his career. So he's looking to homer for the 4th time in a row for the first time in his career, if he can do so in Cincinnati, which is a hitter's ballpark. So if there's a place to do it, that would be it. Now, after this sweep of the Rangers this past weekend, the Mariners are now 13-3 against the Rangers since the start of last season. Taking all these games against the division rivals that we can as soon as we can, the more the better. And a couple other notes: Seattle's bullpen has a 1.85 ERA and a 584 OPS on this homestand. Just 5 earned runs over 25 1/3 innings pitched, with 18 strikeouts, 18 hits, 7 walks over 6 games. And like Chin Music says here, Cal Torpedo is lethal. I saw a tweet that said Cal Raleigh with the torpedo bat is the best hitter in history. Reflect the Sun. Funky Torpedo. Reflect the Sun. Are you a Diamondbacks fan? He said, nice. Third Arizona Diamondbacks had a mid offense, but lead the league in stolen bases when they made it to the World Series. I like that. If we could not necessarily have the best batting average, but be one of the top teams in stolen bases, make the World Series, I'll take it. And now, as Reflect the Sun also mentions, Leo Rivas is now up, and let's see, he has the same walks as strikeouts in his 3 years at the AAA level. Yeah, another option at second base along with Dylan Moore is Leo Rivas. So we'll have to see what direction the Mariners go. But they have a lot of utility guys. They've got Dylan Moore, who's been one of the best hitters on the team to start the year. They got Miles Masterboni, Leo Rivas. As I mentioned, we'll have to see how the health of Jorge Polanco as we go. But starting Tuesday is going to be the start of their first true test on the road this year. It'll be against the Cincinnati Reds. It'll be Luis Castillo against Nick Lodolo. On Wednesday, it is set to be Bryce Miller versus Nick Martinez. And then on Thursday, it is going to be Brian Wu versus Brady Singer. That'll be a great matchup. And then on Friday, they will be heading to Toronto. Again, it will be Logan Gilbert on the mound for the Mariners. We'll see who slots out for the Blue Jays. It'll be through the weekend with the Blue Jays, and then it looks like they have an off day this next Monday, followed by 3 games at the Red Sox before they head back to Seattle. And when they get back to Seattle, they will have a weekend homestand versus the Marlins. They will then have another few games against the Angels at home, and then they will be headed back out on the road for another divisional stretch at the Rangers and at the Athletics. So make sure to stay locked in to the Mariners, to what's going on, the news. We'll see Troy Taylor likely back. We'll see when Ben Williamson makes his debut. Hopefully it's tomorrow in Cincinnati. Make sure to let me know your thoughts in the comments below on all of these guys on the team. Feel free to voice your frustration or voice your optimism. There's a lot to be excited about this year with this team. But yeah, it'll be an interesting stretch. We'll have to see where they stand next week, if they're able to stay over the 500 mark after this road trip. If you can take, 1 to 2 games each of these series, just don't get swept at either one of these series. That would be best case scenario. So make sure to like and subscribe to the Couch GM for all things Mariners throughout the season. Make sure to join me live. I'll be doing these Mondays at 10 a.m. Most weeks I'll be having Gary Hill Jr. on to get his thoughts on the team as well. And we'll see you in the next one. Go M's.